My name's Marcus, I'm 31, and I don't usually post stuff like this. But something happened at my dad's retirement party last weekend that I can't stop replaying in my head. It's been stuck there, looping like a scene from a movie I didn't ask to be in. Maybe writing it all out will help me make sense of it, or at least feel like I didn't just imagine the whole thing. Growing up, it was always clear who the favorite was. My older brother, Adam, was the golden child, captain of the football team, high school valedictorian, got into dad's alma mater, married a girl from the right family, and now works at some high-powered investment firm. He checks all the boxes my father wanted for himself, but never achieved. Meanwhile, I was, well, me. Quiet, bookish, more into art and tech than sports and suits. I never got in trouble, made decent grades, kept to myself. But somehow, I was always the difficult one. I remember once, when I was about 12, I brought home a regional science fair trophy. First place. I was glowing with pride, practically bouncing into the house. Adam had won something the month before, a tennis tournament or something. I showed Dad the plaque and his first response was, "That's nice, Marcus. But next time, try to win something that actually means something." I laughed it off at the time, pretended it didn't bother me. But it did. It chipped away at something inside me, little by little. And those chips, over time, became cracks. By the time I hit college, I gave up trying to win his approval. I went to a tech school on scholarship, got into software development, and carved out a career on my own terms. No help from him, not that I ever expected any. I started my own company 2 years ago, nothing flashy, but profitable. We make educational software, and one of our products just got picked up by a national school district. It was a huge win. I emailed my family about it when the deal closed. Adam never replied. My mom sent a thumbs up emoji. My dad, radio silence. So when I got the invite to Dad's retirement party, I almost didn't go. It was hosted at some rented hall, all glittery lights and linen tablecloths, surrounded by people who'd known him for decades. People who'd only ever heard about his brilliant son Adam, and likely didn't even know I existed. I showed up late, stayed near the back, smiled politely. I wasn't there for him, really. I was there for my mom, and maybe a little for myself, just to say I'd been civil. The first few hours were harmless enough. Old coworkers telling boring stories. A slideshow of Dad through the decades, most of which conveniently didn't include me. Then came the toast. Dad stood at the center of the room, one hand on a glass of champagne, the other around Adam's shoulder. He looked around the room with that practiced charisma, the kind of confidence he wore like a second skin. "I just want to say," he began, "that I've lived a lucky life. A full life. And while retirement feels like an ending, it's also a chance to look back and appreciate the people who made it worthwhile." Cue applause. He grinned, waited for silence. "And I have to say," he continued, lifting his glass a little higher, "that nothing makes me prouder than the man my son Adam has become." A few more claps. Some scattered murmurs of agreement. He wasn't done. Adam's everything a father could hope for. Dedicated. Smart. A real leader. The only son who ever made me proud. He said it clearly, directly, and while his tone was calm, his eyes found mine across the room. There was no ambiguity. He wanted me to hear it. Needed me to. The laugh that slipped out of me was involuntary. A little too loud. A few people turned. Adam glanced at me with a frown. Mom froze, her smile twitching. I didn't say anything. Not right away. I just reached into the pocket of my blazer and pulled out a small black flash drive. I held it up between two fingers, almost like a peace offering. "Then you'll love what's on this," I said, my voice louder than I expected. It cut through the soft jazz and light chatter like a knife. People looked over. A few chuckled nervously, assuming it was a joke. But my expression didn't change. I walked up to the projector laptop, still plugged in from the slideshow. My mom stood up from her seat, eyes darting between me and my dad like she was watching a fuse burn down. "Marcus," she hissed under her breath. "Don't." But I was already plugging it in. A few more seconds, and the screen behind Dad blinked out, then came back with a folder titled Retirement Gift, Real Talk. I clicked it open. The first file was a video. No fancy title. Just a date. March 12th, 2021. It started playing immediately. It was grainy footage, but clear enough. Adam, sitting in my dad's office, talking fast, like he didn't know he was being recorded. Except he did. He'd asked me to help him recover some lost data from his work laptop a few years ago. He left the room, but the webcam stayed on. What I found, I saved. In the video, he was ranting. I don't care what it takes. I'm not letting them audit the books. You think Dad wants the firm dragged through this? He'll back me. He always does. A pause. He leaned closer to the screen. And if not, well, let's just say that charitable donation account wasn't exactly charitable. The room went quiet. I mean dead silent. I heard someone's fork clatter to the floor. Dad's face drained of color. The video kept going. Adam referencing kickbacks, inflated expense reports, even forging signatures. All in casual, arrogant confidence. The kind of confidence that comes from a lifetime of never being held accountable. I paused the video. I've got more, I said calmly. Emails, spreadsheets, a few bank statements. Mom was already on her feet, rushing toward me with that tight, panicked expression, the one she used when we were kids and she knew Dad was about to explode. I thought she'd whisper something, maybe beg me to stop, but she didn't say a word. She just reached out, slowly, and took the flash drive from my hand. Then she turned to face the room, clutching it like it might explode. And that's when I noticed the way she was looking at me, not furious, not ashamed, but something else, something I hadn't seen on her face in years. Respect. Then she started walking, not toward the laptop, not toward Adam, but toward me. She reached me slowly, calmly, heels tapping softly on the polished floor as the weight of what had just played behind us hung in the air. My father was still standing in the center of the room, frozen with his champagne glass midair. Adam looked like he was trying to calculate the fallout, eyes darting between the crowd, the screen, and our mother. But Mom didn't even glance at him. She stopped right in front of me, and for a second, I braced myself. I didn't know if she was going to slap me or start sobbing. Maybe both. But instead, she just reached up and placed her hand on my shoulder. No words, just a long look. The kind that says everything you never heard growing up, the apologies, the understanding, the recognition. And then she turned back to the room. Everyone, she said, voice steady but louder than I'd heard in years. Thank you for coming. We'll be ending the party early tonight. Please collect your things. No one moved. People just stared. A few guests whispered to each other. One woman, a longtime friend of my mom's, I think, touched her arm gently and asked, "Is there anything we can do?" She just shook her head and gave a tight smile. "No, but thank you. This is family business. We'll handle it." And with that, the whole retirement celebration, the one Dad had probably planned for weeks, maybe even months, unraveled in a matter of minutes. The DJ turned off the music. The bartender froze mid-pour. The caterers wheeled out a cart of uneaten cake and untouched hors d'oeuvres. People filed out, mostly silent, some shooting awkward glances back at the three of us standing under the dim lights. My dad hadn't moved. When the room finally cleared, it was just us. Me, my mother, my father, and Adam. The last of the clinking glasses had faded. The door shut with a soft final click. And still, no one spoke. Adam was the first to break. "Are you seriously going to believe that?" He snapped at Mom, jabbing a finger at the black screen, now blank again. "That video means nothing. It was taken out of context. Marcus is trying to sabotage me because he's jealous. He always has been." Dad finally lowered his glass, his mouth opening like he was about to speak. But Mom didn't give him the chance. "I don't want to hear it, Adam," she said sharply. "Not one more word." He scoffed. "You're taking his side? After everything I've done for this family?" Mom turned to him with a kind of coldness I'd never seen before. "No, Adam. You did those things for yourself. You used this family. You used your father. And you used your brother." Adam rolled his eyes. "Oh, please. Marcus is the one who aired this in front of everyone like a reality show. What kind of son does that to his father at his retirement party?" Finally, I spoke. Quietly, but clearly. The kind of son who spent 3 decades being treated like a footnote. My father flinched slightly at that. Maybe from guilt. Maybe from recognition. I didn't care anymore. "Look," I continued. "I didn't come here tonight to humiliate anyone. I came because I was tired. Tired of being silent. Tired of watching you pretend I don't exist just because I didn't fit into whatever fantasy you had about the perfect son." Dad's expression hardened. "So this was revenge?" "No," I said, shaking my head. "This was truth. Something you've never wanted from me." He turned away then, slowly setting down the champagne glass. "You didn't have to do this in front of everyone," he muttered. "You didn't have to ruin the night." "I didn't ruin it," I said. "You did. The second you made that toast." My mom stepped between us, still holding the flash drive. Marcus, she said gently now. Can we talk? Just us. I hesitated, but nodded. Adam scoffed again. Oh, that's just great. I'm the one who's getting interrogated, and he gets a heart-to-heart. Mom didn't even acknowledge him. She just turned and started walking toward the hallway. I followed, leaving Dad and Adam behind in the dimly lit room. As we stepped into a side office, she closed the door behind us and finally, let her shoulders relax. She handed the flash drive back to me. I don't know everything that's on that, she said. But from what I saw, we need to do something. I looked at her carefully. We? She nodded. Then she sat down in a leather chair, rubbed her forehead like she was trying to wake up from a long, exhausting dream. Your brother has been hiding things from us for years. I suspected, but I didn't want to see it. And your father, he's always needed Adam to be perfect. It gave him something to brag about, something to deflect from his own disappointments. There was a long pause. And you? I asked. What did I give you? She looked up, eyes glassy but not yet crying. A quiet, brilliant son I didn't know how to reach. And I'm sorry for that. The words hit harder than I expected. Not because they were dramatic, but because I didn't think she was capable of saying them. My whole life, I thought she'd just chosen not to. I don't want this to be the end of the family, she said. But I also know we can't keep protecting lies. What do you want to do with this? I stared at the flash drive in my hand. I already knew the answer. I'd known it before I even walked into that party. But before I could say it, we heard the sound of something crashing in the main hall. Then shouting. Then my father's voice, angry, shaking, booming through the space like thunder. And just like that, everything spiraled. I stood up instinctively. My mother looked at me, startled but not surprised. The sound had been sharp, the unmistakable clatter of something heavy hitting the floor. Maybe a chair, maybe a glass. And then my father's voice, erupting like a volcano after holding back for far too long. I built this family, he shouted. I sacrificed everything for you. And this is how you repay me. My mom and I moved quickly down the hall, following the sound back into the main room. The lights were still dim, the decorations still intact, but the calm that had settled just moments ago was gone, replaced by a low, smoldering tension that filled the space like smoke. Dad was standing near the front, one hand clenched into a fist, the other pointing at Adam, who was pacing back and forth like a caged animal. You told me those accounts were clean, Dad barked. You said you were managing things. I was managing things. Adam shot back. And you never cared how, as long as it made you look good at the country club. Dad moved closer to him, his jaw tight. You think this is about my image? You think I wanted any of this attention? I trusted you. I defended you. And now I've got a room full of colleagues wondering if I raised a criminal. Adam laughed. That short, bitter laugh people give when they feel cornered. You didn't raise anyone. You criticized. You dictated. You played favorites. And the second something didn't go your way, you threw your own son under the bus. They were both standing now just a few feet apart, like boxers in the final round. The air between them felt charged, dangerous. For the first time in my life, I saw fear in Adam's eyes. Not because he thought Dad would hit him, but because something bigger was cracking open. My mother stepped forward. Enough. Both of you. They didn't move, but they quieted. You want to yell? Fine, she said, voice sharper than I'd ever heard it. But you do it knowing your sons are standing here, both of them. And for the first time in 30 years, I'm not choosing to look the other way. That made them both blink. She turned to Adam. I saw the footage, Adam. I heard what you said. And if half of it is true, then your father may not be the only one dealing with fallout. I was trying to protect, Adam began, but she cut him off. You were trying to protect yourself. Always have. Even when you lied about what happened to Marcus's college fund. My eyes snapped to hers. Wait. What? She hesitated, and something shifted behind her eyes. Shame. Regret. Maybe both. I didn't know for sure, she said. But now it makes sense. You applied for financial aid, right? And it said the family had too much saved? That's because the fund was empty. It had been for months. I remembered that. I remembered sitting at the university financial office, confused, embarrassed, thinking it was a mistake. I paid my tuition working night shifts and freelance coding gigs. I didn't even ask questions because I assumed, I don't know, that it was just gone. Adam didn't even try to deny it. He just muttered, it was an investment opportunity. I thought I could double it before anyone noticed. I couldn't breathe. My hands curled into fists without meaning to. For a moment, I just stood there, frozen. You stole my future, I said quietly. It was a loan, he started. Don't, I said, my voice suddenly rising. Don't spin this. You took something from me. Just like you've always taken everything. Attention, praise, trust, even my money. Dad turned to him. Is that true? You emptied the college account. Adam didn't answer. He didn't have to. Dad let out a long breath and sat down heavily in one of the nearby chairs. He suddenly looked old. Not tired, old. Like the weight of every denial, every lie, had finally settled on his shoulders at once. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Dad looked at me. I didn't know. I didn't answer. Not right away. I didn't trust myself to speak without everything boiling over. I didn't want to know, he added. And that, somehow, hurt even more. I tried to make you proud, I said, even when you made it clear you didn't care. He looked at the floor. My mom sat beside him. She reached for his hand, not to comfort him, but to steady herself. We're going to the police, she said. Marcus has evidence. If this involves your firm, Adam, then there's a bigger mess than just us. Adam straightened, eyes wide. You're not serious. You forged documents, she said. You laundered funds through donation accounts. This isn't just bad behavior. It's illegal. I can fix it, he said quickly. I have contacts. I just need time. No, I interrupted. You've had time. Years of it. He turned to me like I was the problem. You think you're better than me? You came in here, ruined Dad's party, and now you want to destroy everything. No, I said. I came here to end it. His mouth opened again, but this time, Dad raised his hand. Not in anger. In silence. I need to think, Dad said, his voice barely above a whisper. I need to fix what I let happen. And then he stood up, brushed past us, and disappeared through a side exit, leaving his retirement party, his legacy, and his two sons standing in the ruins of what once passed as a family. Adam turned to my mother, almost pleading now. Mom, please, you know what this will do to me. She looked at him, and for the first time, I saw that same coldness she had given Dad. You did that to yourself. And then she turned to me. What do we do now, she asked. And for a moment, all three of us just stood there in the quiet. Because what came next, none of us were ready for. I didn't answer right away. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because the question itself, what do we do now, felt too late. It should have been asked 10 years ago, maybe even 20. Back when I was sitting alone in my room, listening to them brag about Adam's achievements while they forgot my birthday. Back when I showed them my first app, and they patted my head like I'd drawn something in crayon. Back when the world hadn't hardened around these roles we were all assigned. Golden son, ghost son, and the parents too proud to admit they'd failed one of us completely. But I answered anyway. We reported, I said. My voice didn't shake. I wasn't angry anymore. Not sad. Just clear. Like the fog that had lingered around this family my whole life had finally lifted. Adam took a step back, hands out like he was being mugged. You don't get it. You think this is just about me? If this gets out, it ruins everything. Dad's pension might be gone. The firm, I said, cutting him off, covered up fraud, Adam. You used a charitable fund to launder personal expenses and inflate profits. You buried money and let others take the fall. This doesn't just ruin things. It corrects them. You're unbelievable, he spat. You always acted like you didn't care about family. And now suddenly you're the moral compass? I didn't even look at him. I turned to Mom instead. I'm going to the police, I said. If you want to come with me, fine. If not, I understand. But I'm not sitting on this. She nodded, slowly, lips pressed into a thin line. Adam turned to her. You're going to let him do this? I'm going to let him do what's right, she said. Which is more than I ever let you do. He stared at her like she'd slapped him. For a moment, he looked like he might cry. And then something in him collapsed. I watched it happen in real time. That arrogance, that puffed-up chest, deflate like a dying balloon. Fine, he whispered. Do whatever you want. Just know I was trying to protect Dad. I was doing it for him. Mom stepped forward. You weren't doing it for anyone but yourself. And deep down, I think you know that. He turned away, and we let him. He walked to the far end of the hall, picked up his blazer from the chair where he'd thrown it earlier, and left. No goodbye, no apology. Just the click of the exit door and the echo of his footsteps down the hallway. We stood in silence again. Then my mom looked at me, and for the first time in a very, very long time, she looked proud. The next morning, I drove to the local precinct. I had the flash drive in the glove compartment, along with printed transcripts of the emails and spreadsheets I'd compiled over the last few months. I'd started gathering them quietly after Adam had asked me, foolishly, to clean up some files for him. I think he thought I was still the same silent little brother who would do as he was told. I wasn't. Mom met me there. She was already waiting in the parking lot when I pulled in. She'd made coffee. Said she hadn't slept much. Neither had I. We sat down with a white-collar crimes investigator named Detective Claire Montrose. She was calm, patient, and very, very thorough. She didn't seem surprised when I told her what Adam had done. Said they'd been investigating a few anonymous tips about shady transactions coming from his firm already. My evidence just connected the dots. You may have saved some people a lot of trouble, she told me. This isn't just a family issue. This touches clients, donors, maybe even government accounts. I nodded. I didn't feel heroic, just responsible. After the statement, the flash drive, and an agreement to stay available for further questions, I walked out with my mom. The air felt heavy and light at the same time. I'm sorry, she said again softly. I nodded. I know. I should have protected you better. I know that too. She looked at me carefully. What happens now? I shrugged. That's the thing about cleaning up a mess this big. Sometimes you just wait and rebuild. She nodded, eyes glassy again, but not crying. You've always been stronger than we gave you credit for. Not stronger, I said. Just tired of pretending. News of Adam's investigation broke 2 weeks later. The firm released a statement. He was placed on administrative leave, pending internal and legal review. A few reporters reached out. I ignored them. A few family friends called to check in. I ignored them too. Dad didn't call. Not until a month later. The voicemail was short. Marcus, it's me. I saw the reports. I don't know what to say. I didn't know. About the fund. About anything. If you're willing, I'd like to talk. Not about Adam. About us. I listened to it twice. Then deleted it. I wasn't angry. I just wasn't ready. Some bridges need to stay burned for a while. Not forever, but long enough to remind everyone how dangerous the crossing was. It's been 3 months now. Adam is still under investigation. Charges haven't been officially filed, but I'm told it's only a matter of time. The company he worked for has already started damage control. A few clients have pulled out. Some employees are lawyering up. Adam's wife left him, took the kids, and moved back in with her parents. I heard he's been trying to negotiate some kind of plea deal. As for my parents, well, my mom and I talk every week now. Sometimes more. She's learning how to cook for one, figuring out how to navigate her life beyond the shadow of the man she once thought she had to agree with on everything. She's not perfect, but she's trying. That matters. And my dad? He sends emails sometimes. Long, rambling ones. About how proud he is of me. About how he failed as a father. About how he's trying to learn. I read them. Sometimes I respond. Not always. Not because I want to punish him, but because I'm still learning how to uncoil decades of silence. That takes time. And space. He still signs them. Love, Dad. I've kept every single one. Maybe someday I'll respond properly. Maybe not. But here's what I do know. For years, I thought I had to earn love. That if I worked hard enough, stayed quiet enough, achieved just enough, I'd finally be seen. Respected. Loved like Adam was. But it turns out, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do isn't to win someone's approval. It's to stop needing it. And the moment I let go of that need, the moment I said, this ends now, I stopped being invisible. Not because they finally looked at me, but because I finally saw myself. And I liked what I saw. So yeah, that was my dad's retirement party. Funny how the end of one man's career became the start of my own freedom. Thanks for reading.